New figures about Dutch traffic became available. The good news is that the Dutch are cycling the same distance again as they did before the pandemic, even though the total distance travelled across all modes of transportation remains below pre-pandemic levels. Surprisingly, in 2022, the latest year for which figures are available, the Dutch travelled less distance than they did a decade earlier in 2012. The bad news is that road deaths increased by 20% in the Netherlands, with cyclists accounting for the largest group of traffic fatalities in 2022. What do the latest traffic figures for the Netherlands tell us? In total, the Dutch cycled 17.9 billion kilometers in 2022, an increase of 13% compared to 2021, bringing cycling back to 2019 levels. The distance cycled on e-bikes has significantly increased over the years, from about 5% in 2012 to 37% in 2022. The distance travelled by public transport remained below the 2019 level, attributed to a significant increase in working from home since the COVID-19 pandemic. Despite the total distance driven being 87.9 billion kilometers in 2022, the distances travelled by car drivers remained below the level of 2019. In 2023, there were over 8.9 million cars in the Netherlands, with older people owning a majority. Nearly 6 out of every 10 private cars, or 58.4%, are owned by individuals over the age of 50, while approximately 1 out of 10, or 9.7%, is owned by someone under the age of 30. However, individuals between the ages of 35 and 50 cover the most distance, averaging 22.15 kilometers per person per day. The Netherlands boasts a total of 153,000 kilometers of paths and roads welcoming cyclists, with most in excellent condition according to the Cyclists Union. When people cycle, they encounter few obstacles. Most paths and roads are surfaced with asphalt or concrete, 58%, or paving stones, 25%. Nearly 70% of the cycleways have street lighting, and 40% are cleared of snow and ice in winter. However, 60% of the Dutch cycling network consists of roads with mixed traffic, potentially leading to accidents between bicycles and cars. Of all journeys in 2022, 42% were made by car, 28% by bicycle, and 22% on foot. In the 4 largest cities in the Netherlands, cycling is most prevalent in Utrecht, 42% of trips, followed by Amsterdam, 36%, The Hague, 31%, and Rotterdam, 26%. Among the next 20 largest cities, Leiden and Groningen, both 44%, and Zwolle, 43%, top the list for cycling trips. While Zoetermeer and Almere lag behind, with 24% and 23% of all trips made by bike respectively, they still outperform most cities outside the Netherlands. Destinations are generally closer in densely populated areas, making cycling a viable option. On average, most destinations are within close proximity in the Netherlands, with groceries accessible at less than 1 kilometer on average. Primary schools are around 800 meters away, secondary schools an average of 2.5 kilometers. Cafes and restaurants can be found between 800 meters and 1.5 kilometers. A family doctor and pharmacy can generally be reached in a little over 1 kilometer, and hospitals are at 7.3 kilometers. No wonder the Dutch cycle so often. But Dutch traffic led to 737 deaths and 134,000 injuries in 2022, with 27,700 individuals hospitalized, including 8,300 seriously injured. Cyclists accounted for the largest group in traffic fatalities in 2022, with 290 cyclist deaths, mostly from collisions with motor vehicles, 206. Out of all cycling deaths, 150 were over the age of 75. While experts emphasize the importance of further investments in cycling infrastructure for safety, some people call for helmet laws. However, experts in the Netherlands generally oppose such blaming the victim measures, arguing that mandatory helmets lead to fewer people cycling, which has more negative health consequences than a helmet could prevent. In a collision with a car at 50 km per hour, a cyclist has little chance of survival, even with a helmet. Instead, preventing crashes is deemed a much better policy. Therefore, experts advocate for improved infrastructure, such as better intersections and separating cycling from motor traffic at speeds over 30 km per hour. As one expert put it, "For a safe and healthy future, we don't need mandatory helmets, but rather a national obligation for cycling paths." The government anticipates continued growth in cycling, projecting a 20% increase by 2028 compared to 2019. To ensure safe cycling, further investments in cycling infrastructure are inevitable.